Welcome to A Word from the Wise podcast from Solwise. We come to you the first of each month. We will have a guest talking about current products, news that's going on in our industry, and just our opinion on stuff generally. Hello, welcome to the next in our series of Solwise podcasts, A Word from the Wise. I'm back with Daniel again. We're going to talk about the Patriot range today. So we're going to talk about why you would want to take Wi-Fi kit on holiday with you, the sorts of places where you could use it, and some people might even use these things in the home. So we shall be dealing with that today. I would just say afterwards we have got some tequila sunrise, so anyone who's watching this on the video will see what I'm talking about. If you're listening, then we do have a decanter on the table. We've got a new table, so we have a slightly different setup here, and so we can have a drink afterwards. I mean, I know it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but, you know, it is Friday. So on
celebrating the new table.
I will celebrate the new table and the fact that it is a bank holiday on Monday.
Yeah.
So that'll be good, won't it? So, right then, the Patriots. If anyone's watching, we have got one here on the table, and I'll describe it for our listeners. Essentially, it's an access point in a long, thin tube, like a Smarty tube, and then it has an antenna on the top. You can then mount it on wherever you're going to mount it, your motorhome, your shed, a caravan, your boat, your barge, your yacht even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And it comes with lots of different mounting brackets, such as suction cups.
Suction pads, wall mount type stuff that goes on a pole. So.
Yeah, U-bolts and the like. And we do different versions. We've got a USB version with different frequencies, and then there's an Ethernet version. So do you want to go through and tell us a bit about each, and I'll leap in with some sensible questions hopefully.
Yeah, so the sort of universal drawback of Wi-Fi in all its forms is that it's pretty rubbish when it comes to penetrating through surfaces, and that's particularly with metal surfaces like you'd get in a caravan or a boat, something like that. And so the point of these kits is, well, you've got this Patriot device, this access point sort of type thing with an antenna to go on the outside, and then with our kit, that will go on a cable inside into whatever your caravan, your boat, your camper van, your house, and that goes into a Wi-Fi repeater router type device, which will then rebroadcast the Wi-Fi. So the whole deal of the kit is you get around this main problem with Wi-Fi, that being the rubbish penetration through surfaces. We do a few different versions of it. Obviously, as you said, starting with the USB version, because that's typically the one that you're going to get. You've got this USB Patriot on the outside of your caravan and so on. The standard one is 2.4 gigahertz only. That's usually all you need, because if you're at some kind of public campsite, anywhere that does public Wi-Fi that you're going to want to be extending, they typically only have a 2.4 gig device using to broadcast anyway, because they're not going to be getting a very fast signal, and they don't want to go for a massive expensive access point to broadcast Wi-Fi faster than they're getting. So that's why for a while now we've only had the 2.4 gig version, and it's been completely fine. Obviously, as things are slowly moving on, more and more places will eventually, hopefully, start doing faster Wi-Fi for their customers, and to do that they'll have probably dual band devices that do 5 gigahertz as well. And that's why we've recently brought in a dual band version of the Patriot kit. So it can pick up 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signals, or if there's a 5 gigahertz signal available, it can pick up that instead and hopefully get faster speeds.
And is that a concurrent? Can it pick both up at the same time, or do you have to choose in the settings?
It's a you can only do one at a time. It can only do one Wi-Fi signal at a time.
Yeah.
And 2.4 gig and 5 gig, they're different Wi-Fi
But
signals.
does it choose, or do you have to choose?
You choose.
You choose, right.
It's got a really good intuitive setup interface where basically you'll get it all physically set up first. You'll get the antenna set up outside. You'll connect it to the router inside. Then you connect your device to the router, your phone, your laptop, whatever, and you go through the setup process. You'll be brought first to a screen where it shows this good list of all the nearby Wi-Fi signals, just like you'd see on your phone or whatever if you were connecting to Wi-Fi. And you'll see the Wi-Fi names, you'll see if they have passwords, and you'll see the signal strength. So you can, if it's a site that has multiple access points broadcasting at different locations, because it's quite a big site, you can see which one has the strongest signal to you and connect to that one. But you only connect to one signal. So if it's 2.4 gigahertz, that's the strongest, and then 5 gigahertz as a separate signal, you might, you'll have to make a decision there.
Yeah. And are they easy to set up? I'm just mindful that that people, that there might be many people that are not tech wizards, and they just want something that's simple to set up.
One of the big advantages of the USB kits in particular, 2.4 gig and the Dualband version, even though they have slightly different interfaces, they are very intuitive interfaces, because the kits are designed for exactly this one thing, which is you're someone on a campsite and you're wanting to quickly and easily get a Wi-Fi signal that's strong outside but weak inside, and get it to be strong inside as well.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to do, because you brought straight through to a wizard that is designed to make it as easy as possible for you. So even if you're someone that's not particularly tech-minded, not very experienced with doing anything apart from Facebook on your phone or whatever, it makes it a lot easier to do.
Dead straightforward.
Yeah.
And if you were somebody that goes to the same campsite each time, would you need to reset it up every time you go back, or would it keep the settings if it's been switched off, say for a month, and then you go back to the same site in your motorhome? Would you need to reset it up again?
That actually depends. Unless you do a specific reset on your kit, it's not going to lose its connection. It's going to stay with the same settings that it remembers. If the site itself were to change anything about its Wi-Fi system, if they got a new system in, or if they just changed some minor details about the Wi-Fi devices, then you would have to update it.
Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
And also, if you go into multiple different sites, you'll have to redo the setup at each site.
Yeah.
But if they don't change anything, and if you don't change it in the meantime, then it can just be plug and play. Basically, set it back up, and then it's working.
I only ask because we used to have a motorhome, and we've been away, and we took the Patriot with us, and most weekends we'd go up to North Yorkshire to the same site, because we go out on our bikes and stuff like that. So we'll go back to the same place. And it would be useful if you didn't have to keep resetting it if you're going to the same place. But as you say, I suppose, if they change the password, then you're kind of stuffed, aren't you? You really have
Even if you weren't using the kit, you'd have to change your stuff there.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. We've used it on a motorhome, works real well with suction cups. Obviously, it's no good for travelling, is it? So you've got to take it off when you're travelling, because it's not a practical device to leave on there. We do have other kit for roof mounting on caravans, motorhomes and the like, but this is not a permanently mounted device. But we've also used it on a tent, which I think fewer people do, but if you've got a sturdy pole, then you can use the U-bolts and it'll stay on there.
It's flexible.
Yeah. And years ago we took one of the original ones, you might recall, because we had some problems, but we took one to Portugal, used it on a cabin there. The problem that came up there, if you remember, was when you left the cabin that we stayed in, it turned the electric off, which stopped this being. Maybe that was the router. I can't remember.
It was the router itself that's part of this Patriot kit. It used to have a problem where if you powered it off, it would forget all its settings.
That's it. Yeah. But that's been solved now, hasn't it? So anyone who's got an older one may find they have that problem, but the newer ones don't lose their settings when they lose the power. Yeah, that was very irritating. A week of going out during the day and coming back and having to reset it all up. But it was quite useful though, and it fits in your hand luggage. If you take it out of the box, it does fit in your normal hand luggage. It's just
even the router itself is.
It's small and neat,
like
isn't
that,
it?
Yeah, it's just a small little rectangular box.
Yeah. So, and for us, that was quite useful because the cabin we were in was right at the back of the site, so we could but the site was on a hill, which was quite useful because it was then tipped into such a way we picked it up and then we got a great signal. We had a kid with us, so he wanted to get on the internet and watch YouTube like kids do.
Wouldn't know.
Well, no, you're a bit young for all that, maybe that. And then, I mean, I've got listed here that we use it on campsites and so on, but marinas as well. People are using this stuff on boats, barges, narrow boats and the like.
They run into the exact same problems as you get with caravans and camper vans, where because the boat's exterior is metal, it's really tricky for Wi-Fi to.
It's probably even worse than a caravan, I would have thought.
It helps with the exact same thing.
Which leads us on, I suppose, to I've got one on the back of my house. And the one I've got is the Patriot-DB, the Ethernet version. So why, could you want to explain why you'd use the Ethernet one over the USB one?
Yeah, the Ethernet one, it's a bit tricky because it's a different sort of product. So we don't do it as part of a kit, for example, it's a standalone item, but it can be used in the same way still. It's still an access point. Because these USB devices, they are purely Wi-Fi extenders. All they can be used for is picking up Wi-Fi and then taking it down on a USB cable, either directly into a laptop or into one of the routers as part of our kits to then do it as more Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But the Patriot-DB is just a proper Ethernet access point. So its main function is as an access point to broadcast Wi-Fi.
Right.
It broadcasts its own Wi-Fi. It doesn't need a router on its own to do that part.
And that's how we've got it set up. So ours is on the back of our house and then feeds the garden, as it were, the Wi-Fi there.
Yeah. But then, because it's quite a good access point, it's got other functionalities, it's got other operation modes that you can set it up in. One of them being as a repeater. So you can still use it in the same way where you've got it in a repeater mode where you tell it to pick up this nearby Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah.
And then you can bring it down on an Ethernet cable into, it could be one of the 3000A routers that comes with this kit, or it can just be any old Ethernet router really, like we do the Tender F300.
Which is cheap as chips, isn't it?
Yeah,
What's it, about 15 quid? Yeah.
It can go straight into that, and that will work with it just fine, and it'll work in the same way. It's not quite as intuitive to set up because it's not the main purpose. So like you get one of these USB Patriot set up with the USB routers that it comes with. It's designed to be set up in that way, so it guides you through it quite easily. It's not quite so simple with this. We have instructions that it comes with, and it's still, it's not super difficult.
They are 30 pages long though, compared to the 3 pages you've got on the USB device. So essentially what he's trying to get around in a polite manner is saying that you could do with a bit more networking experience, be a bit more tech savvy with regards setting access points up. Yeah, and then you might get on better
because
with
it's a more complicated product. Yeah.
And probably beyond what some people need.
Definitely, that's well, as I said, for the most part, in most places, it's still only 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah. Most
places still aren't doing dual band with 5 gigahertz. So, with the dual band USB Patriot usually being more than you need, the Patriot-DB definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are possible reasons you still want to get it, like because it can be used as an outdoor access point. It's quite flexible in terms of how you use it. So if you wanted to theoretically, at some point, maybe stop using it as a repeater and use it as an access point, like in the future, perhaps for a different site or something like that. Well, there you go. It's got lots of different modes like that.
But it could be good if somebody's, say, got a home office in the garden, a summer house or a purpose-built thing in the garden, using it, that type of thing, like I do, having it on the back of the house.
You can use it like that, And then if you go on a holiday, you can take it down and take it with you and use it in its other mode as a repeater.
Yeah.
So you can save a bit there. But then you have to put it back up again. So.
Well, there is that. Yeah, we'd have to get a ladder out to do that, because the way ours is it comes out of it's on the wall outside the back bedroom, and then it goes in. Our back bedroom's got the PoE switch in, and it just goes straight into that switch, which then is further connected in from there. So that works quite well. But so you said about using it with a router. Could you use it with an access point as well?
Yeah.
Because we've got a number of different routers and access points on the site. If somebody wanted to use that as use the Patriot DB as the extender, they could use that with something that's higher spec access point if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They're not just have to use it with the USB AH or the F300.
No, they can use like a dual band Ethernet router or a proper dedicated access point.
And is there anything that it wouldn't work with? Can you think of, or do you think it would probably work with most things?
Not really, no. Nothing it shouldn't work with.
Yeah. Okay. So what we've done on the website is Daniel has actually written an article about this, which hopefully will make things a bit clearer for people, and we will link to that in the description. We've also rejigged the web page, so the Patriots now are all on the same page. The page, if you're looking in the menu of the website, the page is called Outdoor Wi-Fi Patriot Extenders, which just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And we'll put a link to that page in the description also. And but this is one of those subjects where I think you either get it straight away or you don't. But people can always ring, can't they? They can always give us a ring and have a chat.
One of the things we get the most amount of calls about, really, I'd say, is people inquiring about this kit who are looking to go on a holiday and stuff like that. So especially this time of year.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, so this is the May recording, so it's definitely this time of year people are looking at this type of thing. Now, we used to do a 4G version, which is no longer available, and we do other things for that though, don't we? Which we have covered in previous podcasts. But we do quite a wide range. So if you wanted, this is obviously just full on Wi-Fi, isn't it? There's no 4G option at all.
No.
But if you wanted something else, you could look at. So if you had a Patriot and, for instance, the X-Pol 1 from Pointing for 4G, could the Patriot work with one of the Teltonica routers? Or have I put you on the spot a bit there? Because that's a question that we hadn't discussed. I was going to ask.
It depends what you mean by work with it. You couldn't use a Patriot to pick up stronger Wi-Fi and take it down into a Teltonica router.
Right. Okay.
Because it can't.
Essentially, where I was going with that is, could you get away with just having one router that did 4G and Wi-Fi? But I'm guessing your answer is no. You'd have to have two routers. So you'd have to have, for instance, your USB router.
You would have to use a Patriot DB. It would have to be the Ethernet Patriot DB. It couldn't be one of the USB ones.
Yeah.
It could be done. You'd have to set basically what you'd alternate between different primary WAN inputs for the router, depending on if you were currently using the Wi-Fi or the 4G. And if you wanted to use Wi-Fi, you'd change the main WAN input to Ethernet, get the Patriot DB set up and run it into the WAN port on the router.
Right.
And then if you wanted to switch to 4G, you would just switch the WAN input to 4G.
So it's probably that situation there is probably aimed at your more techie person. I was just thinking, if you were going to do a European road trip, because obviously you're limited on space when you go away in your motorhome, your caravan tents and so on. So you don't want to take a whole bunch of different routers. That was my thinking behind that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So you could, but obviously probably for the more techie amongst us.
And you could also just get a 4G antenna that also supports Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That would also work as a way of doing that.
Ah, yes, that's a good idea.
So for like the MIMO or the Puck range.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, well, I think that's pretty much covered everything we need to talk about on this particular subject.
Things entirely now, so I think we know the end.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for watching. We will be back next month. The podcasts are available via video on YouTube. or wherever you get your podcasts from, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts and the like. If you have any questions, you by all means give us a ring, pop us an email across. We're sales@solwise.co.uk. Check out the website where all these products are listed. And I think that's about it.
I think so too.
Drink?
Yeah.
Tequila sunrise, do you
Yeah.
think? Or Sarah, who produces this podcast, said it looked like a sex on the beach. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's because I'm old. I thought it was a tequila sunrise. But anyway, we'll go for a drink then.
Sure, sounds
Thank
good.
you very much. Thank you.
Bye.